My hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, and I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love. I know that my arms are long enough, they're long enough, I'm good enough. My arms are long enough to give love. I know that my heart is wide enough, it's wide enough, I'm good enough. My heart is wide enough to give love. I know that my light is bright enough, it's bright enough, I'm good enough. My light is bright enough to give love. And my heart is wide enough to give love. I know that my arms are long enough to give love. My hands are strong enough to give love.
To the Boulder Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship Zoom service for April 19th, 2020. That uplifting opening song, Good Enough, is by Leah, a DC area musician and composer. I'm Eric Williams, today's service leader, while Reverend Lydia Rosemary Ferrante takes a well-deserved weekend off. I'm joined by Service Associate Irene Favor, Tad Koryath and Emily Jarowski providing music, and our vital tech ushers, Deborah Mensch, Don Price, Herb Axe, Bill Benchley, and Dave Leonard. This will be our 6th Zoom service during this spring's unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. On this, the 26th day of our governor's stay-at-home order, many of us have been self-isolating longer than that. And yet, here we are, together in covenant through thick and thin, 41 years after the founding of this fellowship. We find ourselves once again, temporarily, a church in a box. I see we have, 113, at least 113 participants, a remarkable statement of the strength of our community. Today, we are continuing our theme of the 5 jagged rocks of Unitarian Universalism theology. And Irene will review them for you.
There is a unity which makes us whole.
Irene, could you start over? You were muted there for a moment.
Oh, hello. Am I back now? Now can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
Okay, great. As a reminder, the jagged rocks that express our Unitarian Universalist theology are unity. There is a unity which makes us whole. Love. Courageous love can transform the world. Hope. Salvation in this lifetime. Worth, and that's one that we'll be doing today. All souls are sacred and worthy. And truth, that will be next week. Truth continues to be revealed.
and you are welcome here today in all the beauty of languages, cultures, skin tones, shapes, and sizes that come together in your uniqueness. You are welcome here. In all the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. In all the ways you make your living and places you are from, you are welcome here. Muslim, pagan, humanist, Jew, Buddhist, mystic, Christian, with all the traditions that inform your spiritual life, you are welcome here today. Whether you are a first-time visitor or a long-time member, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you are welcome here. You are invited to join us with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands we welcome you today. Let us be your safe harbor from the stormy seas of these turbulent times. I especially wish to welcome visitors and newcomers today. We are glad you found us and hope that even in this virtual community, you can experience the warmth and love of this congregation. Each Sunday is different here, so please come back a few times to really get to know us. If you are new to us and you want to stay connected, please see the chat window for the link to our first-time visitors page, or email your information to our office manager, Carol, at officemanager@bvuuf.org. Her email address will be in the chat window as well. If this is one of your first visits and you would like to briefly introduce yourself, I invite you to use the raised hand control in the participants window to show us you would like to speak. Don Price, one of our tech ushers, will call on you and he will unmute your microphone. Please tell us your name and where you're from so we might better get to know you. This self-introduction is completely optional.
Thank you, Eric. Looking for any newcomers. Eric, it doesn't look like we have anybody that's found our corner of the web.
Okay, now Irene will read a poem of hope and comfort, much loved by this fellowship.
Thank you, Eric. This is The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
And now, if you have a chalice at home, you can light it with me. I'll say the words and you repeat after me. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. I now invite you to center yourself again with the second sound of the bowl. Now, Tad and Emily will sing Cornerstones for us. The second verse Emily sings is new and reflects today's jagged rock.
Sanctify our lives. jagged, our paths a little ragged, still we try. Because we live, we're worthy of love. Shine and fall, divine heritage. It's not earned, not a prize that's bestowed. Simply let it show it is a gift that you're here. Cornerstones that hold us all together. Covenant to sanctify our lives. And we know that the edges may be jagged, our paths a little ragged, still we try.
Thank you, Tad and Emily. My friends, I bring you 6 simple words to comfort you and to challenge you too. 6 words that soften my heart as soon as they're spoken. All souls are sacred and worthy. Let's consider this week's jagged rock. What do we mean by sacred? UU minister and author Victoria Safford has this to say: when I was 9 or 10, I found a dead deer in the woods. I saw the flies feeding on her open eyes, and I felt the silky roughness of her coat, forgetting all those warnings to never touch a dead animal, not even with a stick. A child is made for wonder, not hygiene. I pressed my living hand against the stiff carcass, smelled the black blood, lifted up the heavy hooves. I thought about death and how deer run, how they stand among the spring trees, glance up and disappear. That afternoon, I learned as much about the sacred as I did in all my later classes on theology. So she goes on to say, when I say sacred, I mean the architecture of this radiant creation and whatever it reveals to us of beauty, truth, and love. It is the common, holy mystery of life and death, unquote. We are all part of the architecture of this radiant creation. We are sacred. The deer and all living creatures are sacred, and the earth is sacred too. We know that from our pagan sources, from Native American wisdom, like Chief Seattle's beautiful words that we heard 2 weeks ago, and from our understanding of the interconnected web of life. The poet Wendell Berry said, there are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated places. So all the earth is sacred until man forgets that. As we approach the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, our challenge is to continue to expand our awareness that the whole earth and all its creatures are sacred, and to find a way to live out that belief as best we can, to do as little desecrating as possible. Our challenge is also to honor each other and ourselves as sacred souls, fragments of the holy cosmos, to love each other as we are, and to leave no one behind as we strive for a better life for all. Now, what about sacred? What about worthy? That refers back to our Universalist roots, the belief that salvation is universal, that a loving God would not consign any of his children to damnation. The humanists among us aren't going to stay awake at night worrying about that. And we can all take a broader view of the UU meaning of worth. All souls are worthy of love, of respect, of dignity. So each of us is worthy too. All my life, I have struggled. I've struggled with the relentless, unwelcome self-critic, questioning my worth. Why? Because like so many people struggling through life, I experienced childhood trauma. My mother had a thyroid condition that caused her periodic storms of rage and cruelty. Deep in her suffering, she did things no loving mother should do. And she said things to her children no loving mother should say. Did she say them often or only rarely, and then it echoed through my childhood? I don't know. I can't remember. She never apologized, and the message was clear. In her dark moments, we were unwanted, unworthy. Now, 6 decades later, I find in this jagged rock a truth with the power to quiet my inner critic. All souls are sacred and worthy, even mine. To me, it's less a jagged rock and more like a smooth pebble in my pocket, polished from frequent touch and warmed by my body, to remind me in times of doubt and stress, I am worthy, and my soul has a rightful place on this sacred wheel of life. Many of us have had one or more adverse childhood events, or ACEs, traumas which have eroded our sense of worthiness. Perhaps we could use a loving reminder to begin to heal. So I invite you to take a moment to try this simple exercise. Place your hands gently over your heart, or just one hand if that feels better, and take 3 deep, slow breaths with me. Now lower or close your eyes if that's comfortable, and say to yourself, I am sacred and I am worthy. And then all souls are sacred and all souls are worthy. What arises for you as you breathe into those thoughts? During the offertory music coming up, please share your thoughts in the chat window if you wish. Irene?
It is our practice to donate half of our plate to a nonprofit organization that reflects our values in the world. This week's recipient is EcoCycle. EcoCycle was established in Boulder in 1976 by concerned residents, including several founders of our fellowship who had a passionate belief in conserving our natural resources. If your Boulder County or town has curbside recycling, it's because EcoCycle was working with area citizens and local governments to establish it. EcoCycle believes that through individual and community action, society's throwaway ethic can be transformed into environmentally responsible stewardship. Their work promotes our 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of life, as well as today's jagged rock, all souls are sacred and worthy. By protecting the earth, we are recognizing its sacredness and the sacredness of all its souls. Please give today as you are able. Your donations will help EcoCycle's work to continue in these difficult times. And as you listen to the music that's coming up and make your donation, we invite you to enter your thoughts of feeling sacred and worthy into the chat window, as Eric mentioned at the end of his reflection.
Offertory music today is a song by the artist Girish. The first words are Sanskrit, and they mean, may all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and to freedom for all.
Sukino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu. Samasta Sukino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu. And we shine like diamonds in the sun. Every one of us shine. We shine like diamonds in the sun. Every one of us. And we shine like diamonds in the sun. Every one of us. Every one of us shines. We shine like diamonds in the sun. Every one of us. May all beings be happy and free. May all beings be happy and free.
Well, first, let me say I am blown away by the comments in the chat. And on behalf of Echo Cycle and this fellowship, I dedicate these offerings and all our efforts for the common good.
And now we sing. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
And from this place of quiet, I invite us into our time of community connection, our time of sacred sharing. Deborah will remind you of how to let us know you'd like to share. When you do, please tell us your name and where you live, and briefly let us know what is in your heart. I'll put a stone in our sacred waters on your behalf. My friends, we gather here with our joys and sorrows, our fears and frustrations, and we find refuge together Let us rest in the arms of this community. Then, once rested, let us go out and do all we can not to return to the old normal, because we can do so much better. This pandemic has laid bare our society's systemic injustice, so contrary to our values and our vision. And it will fall to us to change that, to cast a new vision for the sake of all the sacred and worthy souls on this holy planet. Please join me in singing our closing hymn, Comfort Me. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Well, friends, this is a much shorter service. Probably it's the shortest service we've ever had. We've budgeted a big block of time for joys and concerns because in weeks past, that's what we've needed. But here we are. You have more of your Sunday afternoon to yourselves. And now we'll sing, here's a benediction. Oh, my friends, may you shine like diamonds in the sun. May you be happy and free. And may your lives contribute in some small way to the happiness and freedom for all, the sacred and worthy souls everywhere. Namaste.